In terms of powering through, when you are starting to burn out like that, when you are starting to get demoralized and struggle, one of the big things to do is take a step back, take a break. I know it's hard when you have projects that are due and you have to get them done, but it's not going to help you if you just hammer through it and push and push and push, because that's just beating your head against a wall. You're not going to get through a concrete wall if you just smash your head against it over and over. The thing to do is take a break, take a step back, and do something else. Get your mind off of it. Go out for a walk, get some air, go for an ice cream or a burger or something if there's something nearby that you can get. Treat yourself. Have a little bit of self-care to unwind and just relax. Do some meditation. Do some exercise. What that does is it just gets your mind off this, because your brain essentially goes into a rut. And no matter what you do, it's like with a car. If you drive into a muddy place and your tires get stuck in a rut, no amount of trying to go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth will fix it, because you're still in that rut. What you need to do is back out of it, get all the way back out of that rut, and drive around it so that you don't go back in the same rut. Your brain is the same way. Your brain will get stuck on a track, and when it's stuck there, it can't get out. So taking time to just step away, pull out of that rut, and just get away from it completely, so that when you come back, you can avoid it and steer around it is very helpful. So that's the number one thing, is take a break. The other thing I would recommend is reaching out to people. Reach out to your classmates, reach out to your friends, ask them for feedback. If you're struggling with something and just can't get your head around it, ask your classmates, like, hey, I'm not getting this. Can you guys give me some notes? Have a Discord call with some of your classmates and just talk through the process. Sometimes talking through it can help you, because, and programmers do this a lot. I believe it's called the, is it the rubber duck process of coding? The rubber ducky process. Essentially what they do is they have a rubber duck on their desk, and you talk through your code to the rubber duck to help you figure out where the problem can be. Because when you're coding, your brain just gets lost in the code and you can't figure it out. But when you start explaining, okay, this is doing this and this is doing this, and we'll go back to animation. When I'm walking, why is my character doing this? Well, the foot is pushing off the ground. It pushes the character forward. They're shifting their weight onto that supporting leg. Talking through your process and why you're doing things can be a really good way to pinpoint, wait, why am I doing that? And that is a big help. So having people to ask for help, ask for feedback, hang out and talk to them, have them talk you through things, have you talk through your own process. That is a great way to get out of it, is having that support. And then having people to talk to while you're struggling can, like the phrase misery loves company. It's kind of true, because when you're miserable alone, it's easy to sink into it and just lose yourself to that misery. But when you have other people there to make jokes and go, hey, it's okay, like we're all struggling with that, it becomes less difficult when you know that you have other people that are going through the same thing and also struggling. And then the third thing I would recommend, if you're encountering burnout and that feeling of not making any progress, is sometimes it's good to step back and study your reference, study your material. For example, when I, like right now, what I'm going to do with what this stream was going to be focused on is I have noticed that my ability to draw arms has kind of gone downhill. I haven't drawn arms a lot lately, and I went to draw one the other day, and it's like, I'm not understanding how it works. I'm not understanding the shapes and the volumes and stuff anymore. So what I'm going to do is essentially do some studies on it to try and understand the concepts. So if you're animating and you're not understanding why your character isn't walking properly, go back and rewatch the video reference that you shot, or rewatch the video reference that you're using. Rewatch your lecture and see what they say about things like balance. Find other videos. If you're on Animation Mentor, there's a ton of resources in the demos and tips section of the page of the campus that covers all sorts of topics, and some walkthroughs on how to animate a walk. For example, I just sent out the survival guides for Animation Mentor, which is a weekly newsletter with tips and tricks that my brother and I have collected over the years and then share to the students for the assignments every week. So if you're working on, for example, a bouncing ball, we'll share a newsletter at the start of the week that goes over our tips and tricks on bouncing ball. And every week has these newsletters. So check out the newsletters if you're an Animation Mentor to see some things on what you might be struggling with. That is a good way to help get out of burnout, because like I was saying before, if you're just pushing against the wall and bashing your head against it, you're not going to make any progress. Sometimes taking that step back and re-understanding and restudying the material can help you understand it, so that when you jump back in, you go, wait, I'm not doing that thing that I just learned. So that is something I would recommend. Now, catching up with the chat here. Not a good time for burnout. Really difficult to find time for a break. It is. It is. The line between procrastination and burnout or break time is blurring. One thing I recommend is setting things like timers. Using the Pomodoro technique, the tomato timer, is a really good way to help with that, because you work 20 minutes and then you take a 5-minute break. You work 20 minutes, you take a 5-minute break. So you're taking regular breaks and having a timer that tells you, hey, it's time for a break. And then you get up, you go, and then you come back. And then I think it's like after the third one, you get like a 15-minute break. This is a good way. If you're struggling with getting work done and you're finding you're just procrastinating all the time, you could try something like that. How do you know it's burnout and not just laziness? Hello, also, Jahil. So the difference between burnout and laziness usually tends to feel, and this is different for everyone, but for myself, when I'm being lazy and I don't want to do anything, it's just like, Burnout tends to be a lot more like you just can't get yourself to do it. Like you'll try and you will literally just not be able to. You're completely unmotivated to. It's more of difficulty to do it, whereas laziness is a disinterest in doing it. It is a fine line though. It really is. And one of the things to do if you're finding that it's laziness, and I don't personally like the term laziness because it implies a negativity. Sometimes things are just hard to get into. One of the things I would recommend is, again, the tomato timer, the Pomodoro technique, where you just have a time that you have to animate. It's like, okay, it's 3:00, it's time for me to animate. I set a timer and I don't look at Twitter, I don't do anything else, I just animate. That can be a good way to break out of laziness and that not willing to work. So once you do that, I think that can help. It's building up good habits, good work schedules.